everyone, Susie here. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Please pardon the noise in the background. I do have my dishwasher running right now, and I'm actually letting some beefaroni simmer over there on the kitchen stovetop. So I'm in the middle of cooking dinner, and it's just kind of simmering now, so I'm not gonna like start a fire or anything, don't worry. I wanted to film this video this weekend, and my husband actually just left to go to the car wash, so I was like, okay, perfect opportunity for me to have the apartment to myself, some kind of peace and quiet, so that I can go ahead and film this video. I was gonna film it earlier today, but I've just been feeling kind of like run down today. I didn't sleep well last night, and had a slight migraine today, so I had to take my medicine. So I am feeling a little bit better now. I did lay down for a bit earlier. So anyway, let's get to the point of this video. So I wanted to make this video because we are going to be moving here in about, I think it's 10 days. We're going to be moving, and we're moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm moving out of Florida and I'm moving to Charlotte, and it's going to be closer to home for us. My parents are back in Kentucky, so I'm going to be just about 6 hours away from them, not very far, enough to, go on like a little road trip or something if you wanted to. And my husband's family is in New Jersey, so it's kind of a good middle ground for the both of us. Either way, we're not super far from our families, and we will finally be able to be a little bit closer to see them, because the last year and a half that we've been here in Florida, it's been rough. It's been rough for both of us, but I think it's been more rough for me because I'm really close to my mom, and I've been missing her super bad. So I've talked about, us needing to move in the past, and I couldn't go into much detail about it, but now I'm at a point where I can actually speak about it. I can let you guys know what our plans are. So we are moving at the end of this month, and I'm pretty excited about it, honestly. I honestly think I'm more excited about moving to Charlotte than I was moving down here to Florida, which is kind of crazy because I wanted to move down here. I love the beach, and before I even do this video, which is the reasons why I'm moving out of Florida, I want to tell you guys all the really good things about Florida, because Florida is a beautiful, beautiful state. It's a beautiful place. There is just amazing things, like growing up in Chicago and then living in Louisville, Kentucky, I have seen things that I honestly would never have seen back home, from the wildlife to the scenery, and it's just an amazing, amazing place. But Florida is definitely beautiful, but there's a lot of things that are very not so great about Florida as well, especially for someone like me who is coming from a whole different kind of environment. And even though it's for a lot of people, it's definitely not for everyone. Florida has beautiful scenery. The wildlife here is amazing. You see some animals, birds, different kinds of wildlife that you would not even see in other parts of the country. Tropical plants, tropical animals that live here. The alligators are super cool. We are so lucky because we live legit right next to a lake, and I've shown you guys on Instagram before. We see alligators and snapping turtles and all kind of stuff out there. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's just beautiful, and there's so much to do. You could not run out of things to do in Florida. It is just a lot of things to do. So it's a beautiful place, but let me get into the reasons why we're moving out of Florida and we're moving to Charlotte. The number one reason why we're moving out of Florida is to be closer to family. So like I said, both of our families are back up in the northern part. So mine is more in like the Midwest right now, and then the rest of my family is in Chicago. My husband's family, they're all in New Jersey. So us being down here in Florida, we are at the bottom of the map. We are way down here, and for us to get to either New Jersey or to get to my parents, it's a good like 14-hour to 20-something hour drive. It's crazy, you know, it's just so far. So it's way too far for me to drive all the time, and plane tickets are just getting more and more expensive. I just don't have the money to constantly buy plane tickets, and it's a legit like almost 2-day trip to drive back home. So it's just too far. And now with my parents, you know, they're getting older every year, but my mom, like, she's got a surgery coming up, you know, I want to be there for her. So it's just too far. Like, I like being down here, but it is also way too far just from everything and everyone that I care about. And, you know, it has been very isolating and very lonely down here in Florida since we got here. And that is one of the major reasons, if not the number one reason, why I am moving out of Florida and moving back up. And you know, I never thought, because, you know, obviously you would think like, yeah, Florida's pretty far, so why'd you even move there in the first place? You know, if you didn't like it, why'd you even move down there? The thing is, like, I don't know, I guess when I moved down here, I thought things were going to be a little bit different. I thought the real estate was going to be different. I thought my parents would be able to afford to buy a home down here and move down with us, and things are just not adding up that way. And so it's important for me to be close to them, and if they are kind of financially not able to come down to us, then I guess I just need to be at a halfway point, and so Charlotte is a good halfway point for us. The number 2 reason why we're moving out of Florida, and actually this is almost tied with number 1, this is legit the 2 reasons why we're moving, is the real estate market. The real estate market here right now is absolutely horrible. The houses are so overpriced, they're so expensive, and the demand is extremely high. There is so many people moving down to Florida every single day. Like, it is becoming so crowded. It's legit like bursting at the seams. And I just remember before we even moved down here, and I thought, that can't be a thing, you know, like there's not that many people moving to Florida. It can't possibly be that many people. No, you don't realize it until you're here, how many people are living in Florida. It's crazy. It's constant, like go, go, go every single day. Tons of people, tons of traffic, just people everywhere. Every store you go to, it's like packed, and it's just very, very, very crowded. And so, you know, there's a lot of people moving down here, which, you know, drives the values of things up. So, you know, if you want to buy, say, a house kind of like similar to where we used to live in Kentucky, we had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a basement, which they don't have basements here. It's, I would say, very, very rare to find a basement in Florida. So you're pretty much looking at a without a basement house. So you're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You're going to be spending, I'm going to say, at least a good $400,000. Probably in the 300,000s range, you're gonna probably be able to get a small home. So something that is maybe 1,500 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Maybe if you get lucky in a partially decent area, you might be able to get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but most of the time it's going to be your smaller home. So a very, very small home for maybe a 1 person or just a family of 2, maybe a family of 3, but it's going to be a small home. And if you're wanting something a little bit bigger, say like a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, you're going to be looking probably in the 500,000s range. So it is quite expensive, if not more, because if you're by the water, you may as well forget about those kind of prices. You're going to be spending like millions. It's a lot. But not only that, but the home ownership is expensive. The insurance is expensive. The homeowner fees are absolutely ridiculous. There was one neighborhood where the homeowner fees were legit like close to $10,000 a year. That's crazy. That is crazy. So yeah, it's just very expensive to buy a home down here, to own a home down here. And we are definitely in the market for a home. So we want to purchase a home again, and it's just not looking good for us here. We looked around and there was nothing that we could afford anywhere that we wanted to be. We wanted to be in the Tampa area. Nothing that we could get in our price range. And I've looked in Charlotte, which Charlotte's expensive too. So I'm not saying that Charlotte is like super cheap and affordable, because Charlotte is definitely pricey. But I have definitely seen, you know, options. I've seen things that we could get, if not outside of the city a little bit, and definitely things that are more our speed. So that is the number one, I'm going to say number one, number two reason why we're moving out of Florida. The number three reason why we're moving out of Florida, I touched on in a previous one, and that is the traffic. The traffic here is horrible. Coming from a place, for instance, Louisville, Kentucky. So Chicago, y'all may like be used to the traffic, you know, like bigger cities, y'all are used to the big traffic, you're okay with it. But me personally, I, you know, grew up in Louisville. I learned to drive in Louisville. My whole driving experience has been in a mid-size city, not a big city. And the traffic here is pretty bad. It's pretty horrendous. The I-4 is horrible. It's a stop and go constantly. It is like you get on there and you're going and then you stop. And then you're going and then you stop. And then you're going and then you stop. It's like you just, it takes like a 30-minute trip ends up taking you like an hour just going somewhere. It's crazy. And you know, like we're not even that far from Tampa. We're like legit a 30-minute drive. But when we go to Costco in Tampa, we have to drive a good like 45 minutes, close to an hour just to get there. It's crazy. And that's with all the traffic. And you can say, oh, well, I'll take back roads. I'll just take back roads. Let me tell you something about Florida. There's back roads, but there's not a lot of back roads that really make sense, because Florida has so many lakes. They have to kind of, you know, work the roads around the lakes, which is one big reason why a lot of like the back roads are kind of twisty turny. They don't really, you know, go straight to a place. And there's a lot of like streets that kind of dead end because you run into things like lakes, creeks, swampy bog type areas. There's a lot of that here. So a straight like trip is not always a thing unless you're on the freeway. So traffic is horrible. There's a lot of people and it's just crazy. It ends up taking you a long time. I work 10 minutes away from where I live, and it takes me 30 minutes to get there every morning and afternoon, which is crazy. The number 4 reason why we're moving out of Florida, and I think a lot of Floridians will know like what I mean, is Florida is just different. Florida beats to its own drum. It's Florida, and it's not afraid to be Florida, and it's not afraid to be different. And there's definitely some very different things down here in Florida, which adds to the charm. It really does. But for me personally, I have seen some things in Florida that I'm like, wow. There's definitely some interesting things. You know, when you see like those weird news stories on the news about like Florida man does this, alligator climbs a fence, blah, 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 weird Florida news stories, you think it's a joke. It's not a joke. It's Florida. Things like that really do happen around here. It's, I don't know. I don't know what other way to explain it. It's Florida is like legit like a Jumanji movie in real life. It really is. It is the most different place that I've ever lived in my life. The people can be very different. I don't know what else to really say about it other than when you see those news stories, it's not a joke. And number 5, and this is not like the most biggest reason why we're moving, but the weather. So we're both, you know, kind of used to cooler weather. I don't really like it when it gets cold, but I also don't like to be sweltering. And it's sweltering here a lot. You legit really don't really get much of a winter. You have a few days where it's kind of cold at night. It might be like in the 60s during the day, maybe even the 50s. But there's just really not a winter in Florida, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people want to move down here. A lot of people come down here because they don't want winters anymore. And, you know, for some people, you think you don't want winters anymore. You might be wrong when you get down to Florida, because you will realize that the heat never really stops. It just keeps on coming, you know, like the heat is like, it's there and it's always there. It never really goes away. You have a nice mild winter, but it's still warm. And when you go through like a good, I don't know, because from, let me think, like March through November is like pretty hot. So you have like a lot of months where you're like kind of sweltering and dealing with hurricane season, which is also from May through November, I believe. So you have like sweltering heat, humidity, plus it's hurricane season. So it rains legit every day pretty much around the same time. If not every day, every other day, but you get a lot of rain, and the rain lasts for usually about like 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, sometimes 30, but it does rain every day or every other day, and it's usually about the same time. So for us, we've noticed it seems to usually rain about 6 o'clock or 7, like somewhere in between there most of the time. Sometimes it does rain in the morning or like mid-afternoon, but it's usually around the same times every day. So you do have to kind of coordinate your day with the rain. If you're doing yard work, if you're going to the store, if you're doing much of anything, you have to kind of coordinate it with the weather. The heat can be pretty intense. The sun, it like legit beats down on you. So even though you have a very nice, very mild winter, you do have a whole lot of sweltering, a whole lot of humidity, and a whole lot of rain. And hurricane season, let me just say, we got to experience our very first hurricane as soon as we moved here. We experienced Hurricane Ian, which was I think now they're saying was actually a Category 5 hurricane. And let me just tell you, that was the most nerve-wracking storm of my life. Hurricanes aren't fast, they're slow. They're very slow moving, and they take a lot of time. Like, they're brewing, they're coming. You're thinking, okay, is this hurricane ever coming? And then it finally, when it does hit, it's like a day-long, sometimes few days long thing of just this hurricane. And it's, you know, windy, it's raining, the power's flickering. You'll be lucky if you keep your power, honestly. It's blowing. The wind is unlike anything I have ever experienced in my life. The winds during Hurricane Ian where we were about 83 miles an hour. They bent our patio door on our balcony. They bent it. We had to have maintenance come out after the hurricane was over to legit fix the patio door because it was bent from the wind blowing on it. So hurricane season is not a joke. It's crazy. It's not something that you have to panic over, but it is scary, especially if you've never had to live through a hurricane before. The people that live here, they're like used to it. They're just like, okay, it's a hurricane. Are you prepared? Okay. You know, like they're the people you want to know and to talk to about hurricanes because they're going to tell you and they're not going to, you know, be panicking about it. So it's definitely not something you need to panic over. But hurricanes are scary. People do panic. They buy out everything in the store, and it's a very interesting experience. Charlotte, where we'll be, they do experience hurricane weather, but it's usually just the rain. They don't really get a lot of the intense part of the storm because they're kind of further inland. So those are the 5 reasons why we're moving out of Florida. I hope this was kind of educational. And also I hope you guys, you know, can kind of see and understand why we are wanting to move, but especially closer to our families. You know, that's really the number one thing. Like, Florida is actually a very nice place and I liked being here. If my family was here, I would probably be more like apt to want to stay here, but because we legit have no one down here and we just want to be close to our families, it makes more sense for us to be in Charlotte. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about my reasons, and I will see you guys in my next video, and I'll try to document some of our moving process so that you guys can see it. I'll do as much as I can, and so look out for that in the near upcoming future. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.